Hi, my name is Andy Holmgreen, and I am working today on our assignment 9, which included a quote from Ron Edmonds, and then also tying it into chapter 4 and 5 of our Understanding by Design. The quote was really interesting to me just to kind of sit down and kind of process that for a few minutes. Thinking about obstacles and why some things just sometimes don't work in a classroom or what it might be. And I started to think about it, and to me, I almost feel like each school year can be a different obstacle. On our campus, I know last year we did some changes with our bell schedule, and it came across that we used to have 50 minutes in our classes, and then for some changes that were made, cut back to 45 minutes. And I'm an inclusion teacher, I'm not a core teacher, and so I would walk in and out of the different classrooms, and you could just feel the stress from the teachers and the obstacle that was involved because they have so many teaks they were trying to hit. And then when 5 minutes was taken out of their class period, it just elevated the amount of stress that they were trying to deal with. And again, that was kind of our issue last year. They kind of figured it out. So as we started the school year this year, it was just kind of the way it was. So the change probably gave them a little bit of extra stress. Where this year, I think probably, again, being an inclusion teacher, I know it's a little different because I'm not the core teacher in the classroom. But I have noticed that, and you guys probably know this too, but each school year kind of has a different personality. You sometimes have those years where the kids are just awesome. It's one of those great school years. And then I think the next year, it's that group of kids where you're like, wow, I can't wait for them to get to the next school year. So that happens to be one of our years this year. And so I think right now our biggest challenge, I would say, would be classroom management. I've been into several different classes. I'm in the 6th grade hallway. And it's hard for some of the knowledge to be picked up and to be applied when there are just so many classroom management issues going on. As I was watching some of the different videos today from all of y'all, it was very interesting because it seemed to kind of be a common thread throughout it, that there's a little bit of frustration might have been with students or the differentiation of the students. And that's, again, kind of, I think what the bottom line is, it's not necessarily just a classroom management thing, but it ties into the type of students and what's expected of the students. And then you can still throw on the time issue that we're having. And so those are just some of the issues, I think, and obstacles that the teachers are seeing in the classroom. Again, not trying to point fingers because it's their classroom and I'm in there to assist the special ed students. So I am a little bit at the mercy of what they're doing in their classroom. But as we talk through the different chapters of 4 and 5, I can see where some of those facets of understanding, if those were just applied in the classroom, what a difference it would make. I know part of it could be from, lack of effort on the teacher's part, maybe just not doing the planning, just really putting the time into it that they want to because they're tired. And I totally understand that. So, but that would be the obstacle that I would see, day in and day out in our classrooms this year. But as I switch over into our chapter 4 and really looking at the different facets of understanding, again, I kind of was using one of my classrooms that I go into that I would say is a little bit more challenging and trying to think about if some of these applications were put into place, if that would make a difference. And I know sometimes before the learning can take place, you've got to address some of the behavior issues, and I totally understand that. But the first, going through the 6 facets, the first one was explanation. And I think that is exactly how I'm wired. I want to know why we're doing something. Tell me why, and you have my buy-in. I've got your back, whatever it happens to be. But if it's something that is just busy work or you're wasting my time, then it's super hard for me, to want to do it. And I think that goes the same for our students. The next one that was listed was interpretation, and I think it, kind of ties in a little bit to the explanation is, why does it matter? How does that relate to me? And again, just trying to think about this from a student's perspective. I mean, as little as, elementary through high school, I think sometimes students just want to know, like, okay, I'm here. Why are we doing this? The application, the knowledge for what purpose do I need to know this information. So if we could somehow tie that into our lessons, again, I think the students would have a better grasp of understanding why we're having them do, this particular assignment. Perspective, the point of view, is it reasonable? The empathy, feelings, and change of heart. And again, I'm going to kind of, use some of my students as an example. And I would say that having any type of emotion or feeling is a little bit of a struggle for some of my students. And so I think if they can understand, the change of heart that might come from understanding a particular reason for why we're doing something, would help get them on board a little bit more. And the last one of the 6 facets of understanding was self-knowledge. And, the views shaped because of their own habits. And again, thinking of some of my students and where they come from and the stuff they deal with at home. And so when we're, presenting a type of lesson, I'm thinking about it from my perspective, like, oh, okay, this totally makes sense. And, the experiences I've had, but really being able to present something maybe from their side of it so they have a better understanding because they're coming at it from their experiences, their habits. And so just trying to keep that inside, in mind when we do that. So on page 103 of our textbook, one of the quotes I just wanted to put in, it just said that they can help us, that these understandings can help us clarify the desired understandings, the necessary assessment task, and the learning activities that will most likely advance student understandings. They should remind us that understandings are not facts, and that certain learning actions and performance assessments are required to bring about the needed meaning making by the learner. And I think that's, just trying to understand the key implications of these facets. So as we, kind of roll forward and we think about it as, okay, well, what are the essential questions? I know on our campus, we're required to have each of the classrooms for that day have our essential question up on the board. And again, not being the classroom teacher, I always kind of go in and I read those because it helps me as an inclusion teacher know what's expected of the students that day. And you can just see how the teachers that go back to it and reflect on it throughout that class period and kind of bring the students at the beginning of the class and back to it at the end of the class, just remind the students what their purpose is for that day. And I really appreciated Chapter 5 on just helping understand how those are actually written and how they're all tied in. So the second part of our assignment was actually tying in some of my own experiences as a learner. And again, I heard it on one of the videos earlier today. I'm not young, and so I don't have the best memory of growing up and learning and how things were done back in my day. But it was interesting because I actually tied it into college experience. It was a little bit more recent. So when I went and got my bachelor's degree, and when you're required to take some of those core classes, I was unmotivated. It was a struggle for me trying to actually care why we were doing some of those, history, sorry for you history lovers, or, even English. That's just not my thing. And so my grades were not the best. Again, I'm letting y'all know a whole lot about me. But as I got into my particular major and I started having a little bit of passion and interest about what the class was, it was like that, aha light bulb moment where it was like, I love this. It reminded me and made sure, and just kind of was a little affirmation that I was doing what I wanted to be doing. But it took a while to get there because I had to get through those other classes before I could get to something I'm passionate about. And again, just to be real transparent, even with what we're doing right now within our classes, I'm having to take some core classes before I can, shift over into diagnostician, which is my love of, special ed students. And so this curriculum class is a little challenging for me because it's just not where my passion is. But then my other class that I'm taking, a special ed class, it's like I get up and I think about it. Sorry, Dr. Hightower, because it's just what I'm excited about because that's where I want to go. And that brings me back to those 6 facets of understanding. I mean, if you the students can feel that because when they're excited, they understand why you're doing. It's their passion, and if we can do that in the classroom, can you imagine just those moments and the excitement that those kids would have by seeing that? we're the same way, and just think about the classes that you've taken that have given you excitement and the classes that, you just kind of get through because you have to. So anyways, that was just kind of my take on everything. So I hope you guys have a great day and enjoy the video.